Hello, test. Hello, testing. Hello, everyone. My name is Eli, also known as Rockfire, and I will be the caster for this ECAC Hearthstone Semifinals Collegiate Tournament. We have two exciting matches going on tonight for the semifinals, both of which are a Northeastern player versus a University of Delaware player. And then after which we will be streaming the finals as well as the resulting match. Thank you all for joining us for Northeastern Esports. This tournament has been going on for the last few weeks or so, and so it's exciting that we've gotten to this point of the playoffs where we're into top 4. Currently, the players are exchanging deck lists with their opponents and deciding which class they choose to ban. They will then have to win 3 out of 5 games to win the match and move on to the finals. So, the first match that we'll be spectating... Oh, one moment. The University of Delaware stream is also currently setting up, so it might be a second or two. Please let me know if the game or mic volume needs to be adjusted. The first game we are looking to watch will be Northeastern's Critical versus University of Delaware's Sheryl Wu. Both of these players are very good and did very well in the Swiss part of the tournament, and are currently undefeated in playoffs as this is a single elimination tournament. Northeastern's Critical actually defeated me in the quarterfinals, so I'm the one who has to cast the semifinals match. But I did pretty well too, so I'm proud of myself for my performance. Currently still waiting for the all set from Delaware Esports.
Hello everyone, my
to
name
get ready.
is Eli, also known as Rockfire, and I will be the caster for this ECAC.
All right, looks like we're gonna head into the matches. I will be spectating from Northeastern's Critical's perspective.
Elise versus Queen Ashara.
My music will wash over you.
Class
All
is in
right.
session.
So, as I mentioned before, in this tournament, both players will have to win with all 3 of their decks. They originally brought 4 decks, but one deck gets to be banned by the opposing player so that they do not have to play against it.
One dose solves any problem.
So the deck that we see Critical playing is Dragons. It involves playing lots of dragons that are really big and overwhelming the opponent. Whereas Cheryl Wu is currently playing Rainbow Mage, which is a deck based on playing lots of fancy spells that event from different types of elements in order to create a powerful swing turn and kill the opponent in one turn. This matchup typically leans in the Druid's favor. Statistics say about a 55% win chance, but of course that can go either way very easily based off the chance and how the players play. Since we're in the beginning stages of this game, both players are just trying to maintain tempo or have more control of the game based off what minions they have in play. This play by Cheryl Wu to play the Cold Feet card prevents Ethan from having a big swing turn on his next turn with his Desert Nest Matron. Ethan will have to wait till next turn to play it, which typically slows down how quickly he can provide aggression onto the enemy player. Great card to play on turn 4. Now we're starting turn 5, as you can see by the amount of mana crystals that we have.
Stay alert, my children. Danger.
We all exist in harmony.
Ethan playing Summer Flowerchild on turn 5 is very good, but because of this bonus finale effect, he gets to draw both of his cards that get discounted by 1 mana. So he's able to play Dragon Golem on 6, or what other cards he draws in order to have a faster aggression against the opponent.
Knowledge will be your salvation.
Norgannon is a very big minion in Delaware's deck. So this means that if Ethan does not kill this card, it gets a very powerful ability on its next turn. So this is a big priority target for Ethan to kill. However, there's not much in Ethan's hand he can do to kill it, and so he decides to just make a big board of minions to try to overwhelm him faster, and try to finish this game before the major abilities of Norgannon can come online. So, if this board does happen to get cleared, maybe by a robot as the Rainbow Mage players play, Ethan does have a backup board ready.
You are unable to comprehend.
Although due to this Ancient Knowledge ability that was just cast by Norgannon, all of his cards will cost 2 more, meaning he won't be able to play Dragon Golem on his next turn. However, this is a lot of damage right now that Ethan has on board. Currently has 15 damage, 16 if you count a hero power, this shapeshift ability. So that means that he could be leaving Shirowu with only 6 health left remaining, which means it's very hard to come back from that little of an effect. He chooses instead to kill one of the minions. He chooses to kill off Norgannon so that Norgannon can't have any special effects that get even more powerful the longer it stays alive. Still, 10 health is very little for Shirowu to work with, so he needs kind of a discovered spell to kind of save him right now. Or additionally, the robot, as we talked about earlier. A discovered spell that could potentially save him is called Solid Alibi. Very powerful 3-mana spell. That means that you can only take 1 damage at a time. But we see trading here, so this means more likely, yeah, as we can see the Lady Nazjar killing off some of these dragons. Ooh, that's pretty disappointing for Shirowu. He didn't get the lucky skeleton hit to kill off some dragons, so unfortunately, all 4 of these dragons are still alive, meaning that Shirowu is dead. Ethan needs to discover 1 damage here to kill off Shirowu on this turn. Currently he has 10. You can see Ethan thinking here.
Stay alert.
Just choosing to make more dragons on the board, just kind of overwhelm the opponent. Of course, he chooses to first kill off the Arcane Artificer, as this card can gain Shirowu and University of Delaware more armor if he continues to cast spells. Kind of a must kill if you're the aggressor in this situation, of which critical is for Northeastern. Shirowu's discovering random spells. This could be anything. It could really save him, or if he fails to hit something important, it could be a waste of mana on this turn. Cold Case is a good card, but it's only 4 armor. Doesn't kill off the dragons. Oh, he got discovered Solid Alibi. That card is very good. So this means that it will be impossible for Ethan to kill on his turn, as each of these dragons will only do 1 damage to the opponent. So he has to be guaranteed wait until next turn. The way that Shirowu wins this game is by assembling a combo of cards. So Ethan has to be hesitant to make sure that not only is he doing damage, but he's also doing everything he can to prevent this combo from being brought together. Hmm? Okay. Sorry about the audio issues. Sure, we're trading off these skeletons, hoping that they kill as much dragons as possible. He currently needs to kill everything on board in order to stay alive one more turn. Oh, he does get one taunt, but unfortunately that does not save him. This rush is helpful too, but unfortunately this does mean that Ethan takes game one with some direct damage to face with the Amber Whelp. He also had other options as well. So that's game one in Northeastern's favor. So we'll be standing by as they choose which deck to play for game two. Ethan now has one on, Northeastern has one on the Druid, meaning that he can no longer play that deck. And now he has to win with the other two decks of his before Delaware gets to 3. Oh, already starting the next match.
Come, embrace the chaos.
One dose solves any problem.
Let the pain speak to me.
All right. Sorry for the little pause. Back into this game, Ethan is playing a deck called Enrage Warrior. This deck is all about making your minions damaged, and because they are damaged, getting additional bonuses and doing a lot of damage and snowballing big minions into the opponent. He chooses here to buff his Acolyte of Pain, meaning he's going to draw additional cards. Sounds a little lame, but drawing cards is how you accelerate towards winning the game, because you need enough cards to have enough resources to pressure your opponent. His opponent is playing the same deck as before, so this is Rainbow Mage, trying to accumulate that combo while surviving the onslaught of attacks that Ethan's decks are providing.
I smell golden in their waters.
Gold Panner is a good card to get early, because this guarantees draw, and that Wu and University of Delaware have to deal with this card, or else it will be out of control. Critical is putting up a lot of threats that need to be dealt with, meaning Wu can't spend mana and resources to accelerate to his own win condition. Delaware has to focus on clearing these minions out before they can discover spells and accumulate damage for their one-turn kill. Interesting choice by Delaware to put out both Artificers for tempo, meaning rather just having them, instead of having an effect, just having them be minions there that Ethan has to choose to trade into them or not. This means that later in the game, Delaware will be limited on the amount of resources they have to gain armor to accumulate health so that critical does not defeat them quickly.
A conundrum.
Bask in my radiance.
Delaware's still moving kind of slowly here, although this secret could be very influential to how Ethan plays out his upcoming turns. Secrets are like trap cards that don't get triggered until your opponent does something, but because this was generated by a card with a random effect, Ethan doesn't know which trap card to play around. Ethan is thinking about playing his Thorabalor, which is a very good card in this matchup. This card essentially infinitely stays alive. Explosive Trap does end up killing Ethan's Steam Guardian, but this is not too much of a setback for Ethan. He still has 2 minions on board. It's looking pretty good currently. Oh, Deathborn is a good randomly discovered spell. Not only does it kill all of Ethan's minions, but it does set up some of Delaware's own. Ethan's looking to do a big setup turn here with some Fury Champion. A lot of damaged minions mean it's going to buff a bunch of minions in his hand, make things very big and hard to deal with for the future turns. The Slide of the Phoenix costs 0 because of all the damaged minions. Big explosions coming out. As you can see, a lot of cards in Ethan's hands being buffed right now because of this big play. Debating, oh, another big explosion coming out. Lots of buffs hitting minions in his hand. So many procs. That was a very good turn for critical. Meaning, after this powerful turn with this board that needs to be set up, Ethan will have additional threats that Delaware needs to deal with, which can be very difficult when you're trying to do your own game plan, as was this OTK deck that Delaware has chosen to bring. Delaware's probably going to choose to kill off the Anima Extractor first, because every time a minion takes damage, this buffs a card in the hand. Oh, getting a Thorabalor of their own. Boom, big explosion to kill off the board. However, that's not a big deal right now for Team Northeastern, because all these buffed minions in hand will allow Ethan to do so much damage over the next few turns. It doesn't matter that those other minions had died. Chooses to play the 12 attack Remornia weapon. Big smack coming up on future turns. That's 12 damage every single turn that Delaware is going to have to deal with unless they can discover a solid alibi or break this weapon. Not to mention the additional damage from hand that Northeastern holds with these Decimator Olgras and Crazed Wretch. It's not looking good for Team Delaware for this match currently. For this game, I should say. Currently, the match score is only 1-0, so it's too early to tell. Discovering first means that there won't be a lot of value getting off this spell, but it could be something that really saves Delaware in this position. Oh, Cryopreservation. That's a good pull in this situation. That means Ethan will not be able to attack with this weapon next turn.
No
Norganon again, this big threat that needs to be dealt with, or else it just gets more powerful the longer it stays alive. Ethan has a couple of options this turn. Crazed Wretch is normally used as a finisher, so it's unlikely that he'll play that, but it's definitely a possibility. Trial by Fire. This makes sense. This allows Ethan to kill off this Norganon, not really deal with it later. Kind of just a stall turn on both sides, but Northeastern definitely has an advantage in this current game, just based off the hand status of both players. Delaware's had to use a couple of their damage spells on Ethan's minions, Ethan being critical from Northeastern, and that's allowed their game plan to be very slow, just kind of pushing the goal line farther and farther away.
Bask in my radiance.
Thank you for the kind words in the chat. We see more damage spells coming out. This is going to limit Delaware's ability to actually destroy Northeastern's hero once they kind of stabilize. Double coins is a good pull here, and 4 off the Elemental Inspiration is a board that Ethan will have to think about. This is not nothing. Like we said previously, Ethan still does have this 12 attack weapon that can go face and destroy minions after he attacks. So that's can be very influential. Because this minion has taunt, it means that enemies must attack this minion first. This doesn't apply to spells, but this is some big damage coming out. This is 10 damage that can go face. This is 5 damage that can kill a minion. But I believe this is just enough damage. A lot of big hits here. Ooh, lucky ordering. But that is minus 11 health for Delaware. Lucky ordering on that Olgra that it managed to damage face before it died off. But there was just too much damage in Northeastern's hand for that game to go another direction. So currently, Northeastern is up 2-0. Ethan has one more deck that he has to play in order to take this semifinal match, and that is Mech Rogue. This is a very fast deck, centering around playing mechs early and destroying the enemy hero with a bunch of attacks and stealth to make it untargetable. We'll see very quickly if this goes one way or the next based off Ethan's opening hand. These are not bad cards to get in your opening hand. So Ethan is looking forward to this matchup. As we can see, Delaware, instead of choosing to play the same deck in a row for the third time, they decided to switch to their Highlander Druid. This is a very control-oriented type deck that plays quite slowly. But hopefully we'll have enough removal for these early robots that Ethan's looking to play. These robots can attach onto each other and boost their attack, and has a lot of synergy together to make sure that it's hard to deal with in the early game. Delaware will have to win with all 3 of their remaining decks, while Northeastern just has to win with this one Mech Rogue deck in order to take this semifinal match.
Toys are much more fun to bring.
Most of the decisions for Ethan come in this early game, as there's a lot of different plays he could make. A lot of low-cost cards, meaning there's a lot of decisions in these first 1, 2, 3, 4 turns. He's choosing to coin out the Sparkbot to make this a 2-3 instead of a 1-2. Hopefully he's hoping that this stays alive long enough so that he can play a Coppertail Snoop onto it, meaning that the 2 combine and becomes one powerful minion. However, this play does get punished if Delaware finds a way to kill this minion, which they do not because their deck is a little control-y for the current matchup. Ethan has to decide which mech from his deck he wants to put into his hand. It's kind of a slow play, but it does allow you to snowball further in the future.
Think.
Where's your past?
Ah. This is an interesting card, not played very often, but we can see here it's getting its value in by actually killing off the minion and developing a minion at the same time. That's great tempo. Ethan will now have to try to kill these minions and keep his alive at the same time. Unfortunately, if Ethan falls behind in this early game, it might not be very easy to come back. However, he does only have to win one of the next 3 games in order to win the semifinal match. So getting an unlucky early situation in this one game doesn't mean it is over. Ethan does have a great turn 4 follow-up with the Scourge Illusionist. This creates a really big threat that the opponent has to deal with that then summons more big threats. Opponent chooses to play ETC, which allows them to pull a secret card that's not normally in their deck. Pretty much you try to determine which one you choose based off what matchup you're playing, what the situation is. It's kind of a slow card, but because Northeastern got kind of a slow start, it's not punishing to play it right now. The main card that Northeastern has to watch out for is a card called the Amazing Reno that Delaware runs in their deck. This makes all minions on the opposing side disappear and limit you to 1 and improves your special power for the rest of the game. It's a very powerful card.
Who's ready for another round?
Interesting choice to bounce back the ETC here. It's very, very slow. Doesn't really provide a bunch of benefit to Delaware either, so I'm confused on why they make that play. Maybe we'll see later. Doesn't really develop any additional stats as it takes away stats from the board while only adding a few. Ethan choosing to make a really big mech minion here. Bunch of bonuses. It's going to have rush. It's going to have extra health. He's choosing to give it lifesteal, which means it heals every time it deals damage. This heal isn't that important because Ethan's just looking to be the aggressor in this matchup, so Northeastern just has to win early rather than let the game last for longer amounts of time. So the longer this game lasts, the more Delaware has an advantage in this one game. However, the match score, as you can see, is still 0-2 in Northeastern's favor. As a reminder, my name is Eli, or Rockfire, and I'm a Northeastern player, but the caster for this semifinal match. Frost Lotus seeding unbuffed. It's kind of a bummer to spend a lot of mana on. It's not really what Delaware wants to be doing at this point in the game. They want to be killing off these minions as efficiently as they can. But they're just going to gain more mana for future turns, hopefully have a better play next turn. We are coming up against turn 8. Turn 8 is the big turn when Highlander Druid can play their Amazing Reno card to vastly switch the game in their favor, so we just have to wait to see if they have it. Oh! Unlucky. That's almost devastating for Northeastern in this game. It's going to be hard to come back. As I mentioned previously, Northeastern can only make 1 minion after this card is played on this turn, meaning they have to be very slow. Additionally, they don't get any of the bonuses from their other minions dying, which means they have to wait for them to draw those minions naturally, which is just taking too long for this deck. This deck really tries to win early. I'm curious if Northeastern Critical can pull off a really nice play here to get this game back in their direction. see a lot of minions coming out here from Delaware, but these can be easily dealt with this Krakatoa in Northeastern's hand. We can see Ethan going for it for right now. This allows him to kill off 3 minions just by playing this one card. Ethan does have the swing in his favor, however, his hand's looking very, very bad. So this is kind of a last-ditch hurrah to get some damage in, hopefully draw some good cards in the next turn. But if this board gets cleared and he gets a bad draw for the next turn or two, then this game is pretty solidly in Delaware's favor. Topior is a very good card. Every time that Delaware casts a spell for the remainder of this game, they get a dragon with Rush. Makes Northeastern having minions very difficult. Northeastern just choosing to go all face damage here, trying to get the last bits amount of damage they can before the game ends. Choosing to buff the frequency oscillator after it attacks, meaning that it will have stealth for this next turn, hopefully to almost guarantee 5 damage next turn. But they're still missing an 8 damage because presumably this Krakatoa is going to die. Not even counting the possible ways that Delaware can heal or gain armor in this turn. However, like I mentioned before, the match score is still 0-2 in Northeastern's favor. If this game goes in Delaware's favor, then it will be 1-2, and we're playing best of 3. This is both heal and taunt, which is very difficult to deal with for Northeastern. Additionally, 5 more health. Delaware has fully stabilized. Ooh, that's not really a really great draw that will help Northeastern in this situation. Yeah, this minion does easily get killed.
Our gift of fire empowers us.
Smart moves. I can see.
Northeastern concedes this game, meaning our match score is now 1-2. Northeastern has to win on this final robot rogue deck, but they still have to play against 2 more decks by the opponent, one of which being that Rainbow Mage that we saw earlier. Here we see this Rainbow Mage for the 3rd time.
You asked for it. None can
This will
escape
be
my
Delaware's
fury.
last attempt to win on this deck. If they fail to win on this deck, then Northeastern does take this semifinal match. Not a terrible hand for Ethan. This gives him a play on turn 1 and a turn on turn 2, as this frequency oscillator decreases the cost of the mechs in his hand. Flame guys are coming out. Kills a minion, but at the same time doesn't do very much for developing any sort of tempo for Delaware. Keyboard is a great card that Rainbow Mage is looking to get earlier. This allows it to both discover spells for its game plan and create minions at the same time that the opponent has to deal with. However, this 5/7 is just dealing massive damage to the opponent very early on. Oh, and Mimiron's Horn that's gained by the ability from this playing an additional mech means that this will be even harder to deal with. The main way that this mage can deal with this is with the Reverberations, but Reverberations does not completely eliminate this threat now that it has Divine Shield and Taunt. Void Scripture really early is risky. It means you only get some of the value from the card. But as you can see, because of this keyboard, it does create a 2/2, which could do some damage to this minion later on. However, Northeastern's kind of spiraling out of control with this big minion. Additionally, with this ability to make it have reborn, meaning it resummons after it dies. This minion is extra hard to kill now. Ooh, Mimiron's cool. It means that Ethan can get off a lot of cards this turn, meaning the spider bot is going to be extra cheap. It's looking really, really rough for Delaware right now. There's an 11 attack minion that's going to hit him on face, maybe with more attack buffs on the next turn. It's only turn 5, and it has stealth, which means it can't even be targeted by spells. There's going to have to be a lot of randomness that's going to save Delaware in this situation. All this does is gain 4 armor. Ethan just needs to accumulate Wind Fury or 11 damage and attack buffs in order to win on this turn. All these are good options. However, that Spider Bot is extra good, which means it gives its stealth additional time for after next turn. Oh no! A great call by Northeastern's Critical to go for the lucky play in order to achieve the double attack burst to kill on this turn. Oh, very unfortunate match for Delaware, but very well played by Northeastern. Northeastern goes up 3-1 for the match score, and that's going to be the end of this semifinal match. Northeastern emerges victorious, and that means that Critical Ethan is going on to the finals that we're going to be seeing streamed here later. Very well done by both players, very well played. Delaware played very well, but unfortunately they just could not keep up with the insane threats that Northeastern was developing. So that's one of our semifinal matches. Another one of our semifinal matches may be coming up soon. Let me update the score really quick before our next match. All right, everybody. We will be right back with our second semifinal match. Once again, this is Northeastern ECAC Hearthstone Collegiate Semifinals, which is Northeastern versus University of Delaware. We've already seen one Northeastern player make it onto the finals. The next semifinal match is an additional Northeastern player playing it against additional University of Delaware player, and the winner for that match will play Critical Ethan in the finals of ECAC Collegiate Tournament. We'll be right back. right, everybody. We got a second semifinal match coming up soon. This match is going to be Northeastern's Rocked You versus Unlucky, which is the gamer tag of University of Delaware player. Rocked You was the #1 seat in the Swiss playings for this tournament. And Unlucky comes out as the #2 seat, I believe. No, sorry. I stand corrected. Sherwood in the last match was the #2 seat, playing against the #3 seat, which was Northeastern's Critical. And this match will be Northeastern's #1 seat, Rockdew, playing against the current 13 seat. This 13 seat's name is Unlucky. Currently, they've played one other time, and in this one other time, Unlucky actually came on top. So this is going to be a very close match probably. Rockdew has been very dominant in this tournament so far. Currently is 9-1, but the only one loss is at the hands of Unlucky. Unlucky was rated as a 13 seed, having 3 losses in the regular season. However, they beat the #4 seed and the #5 seed in the round of 16 in the quarterfinals to make it to the semifinals. The winner of this match will make it on to the finals to play against Northeastern's Critical. This match for the semifinals will be a best-of-5. It is a conquest format. This conquest format means that each player brings 4 decks. They then select 1 deck from their opponent that they do not want to play against, and then the opponent has to win with the other 3 decks. Once you win with the deck, you cannot play it again. We have the deck list from the opponents and from Northeastern and Delaware. The decks that Northeastern is bringing are Rainbow Mage, Dragon Druid, Highlander Shaman, and Enrage Warrior. The decks that we have received from University of Delaware are Rainbow Mage again Highlander Shaman, Highlander Druid, and Highlander Paladin. Highlander means that you can only have 1 copy of a card in your deck, which means that you have to bring it with 30 or 40 all different cards in order to get the bonus from creating this unique deck. This also means that there's a lot more card choices, so more variety in decks in general, but it also means your deck is a lot less consistent because there's only 1 copy instead of 2 of some important cards in your deck. This should be an interesting matchup. We will update you when we know what the players have selected to ban. They're currently queuing a ban match to determine which deck from their opponent they do not want to play against. As soon as they've decided what bans, oh, we see both players have decided to ban the Highlander Shaman from their opponent. This is because Highlander Shaman is a very consistent deck that's very flexible. It just always finds a way to win. It's not particularly dominant, but there's not really a good way to counter it. So now both players are choosing that they do not want to play against that from their opponent, meaning that Northeastern is left to win with Rainbow Mage, Dragon Druid, and Enrage Warrior. Delaware has to win with Rainbow Mage, Highlander Druid, and Highlander Paladin. This should be an interesting matchup. I believe currently it is statistically favored in Northeastern's favor, but Of course, this is very slight, so this does not mean much. It's probably about a 52% win rate. But of course, this is just based off the decks that I have brought. Many things could change once the games begin. All right, looks like we're ready to see our very first game here. It's gonna be Northeastern on Dragon Druid versus University of Delaware playing the Rainbow Mage.
Knowledge is power.
Northeastern here is looking for some cheap dragons that they can play early on. Alex Straza would not be a keep here, because it just is going to be coming down not until probably turn 8 or turn 9, so it's going to be quite a while before that happens. We want to get some cheaper cards beforehand. Full toss makes sense. There's some really good cards to get in the early game, like that Desert Nest Matron. That's going to be very good. It's essentially you can play it for free if you play it with another dragon in your hand. Getting both of them is crazy. This means that on turn 4, Rockdew is going to be able to play essentially free 3/5s that Unlucky will have to deal with. Unlucky is a player at the University of Delaware currently playing Rainbow Mage. Kind of an awkward turn on this turn 2. Not really a lot of good plays. That 1/3 will accumulate armor for Delaware as the game goes on. Not kind of like a dire eliminate right now, but it is something that we don't want to stay alive for long. You can see this crazy portrait used by Northeastern's player Rockdew. Premium portrait. It just means that it's a part of the Druid class, but it is fun to look at.
Time runs out on me.
Ooh, that's a pretty good 3-cost card to get on 3. Now Rockdew has to make the decision. Chooses to draw some more dragons. They're gonna get buffed. This Dragon Golem is very important to Northeastern's gameplay in this game. It should summon a huge wide board that if Delaware can't deal with, it should be game over, I should say, not match over on the spot. Schooling is a very good card to get, randomly generated for Delaware. It provides a lot of ability to kill off Northeastern's minions early, which is something that Mage may typically struggle with. These are the piranhas that were acquired as part of schooling. Normally they're not in the deck, but after a randomly generated spell, you can see Delaware has a pretty good board looking here. But, however, here comes this big turn 4 swing we were talking about. A free 3/5 into another free 3/5 into another 3/4, all on turn 4. This is pretty good. Rockdew also choosing to kill one of off these 3/1s, taking a little bit of damage in the process, but you want to keep these minions alive so they can do damage over multiple turns. So damage one time in Hearthstone, you kind of shy it off most of the time if it's not a big amount, where you want to keep your minions alive because your minions can attack more than once, meaning that they do more damage, so it's more important. That's what we call tempo, or what you try to keep up with the game. You don't want to be too far behind on tempo because you just kind of get snowballed out of the game. This Artificer's still alive, meaning that if spells are getting played by Delaware, it's going to give health. But right now, health is not the most important thing. Like we said, what's important is having minions on board that's providing pressure to do damage over multiple turns. So additional health is not as important right now as getting some minions or eliminating Northeastern's minions right here. Cold Case, one of the best 4-cost cards in the game because it gains health, makes minions, and it does damage when these minions die. It's a very good all-around card. Just to play it on turn 4 is pretty good. This game is probably pretty even right now. Although Delaware is definitely going to have to do something to accelerate to their final game plan, which is going to be dealing a bunch of damage in one turn. But they're going to have to get rid of all these dragons first. A second dragon golem means that Delaware won't have to eliminate one but two of Northeastern's threats in this game in order to stabilize and start going towards their own win condition. Rockju choosing to do damage to face here to get the game over sooner, rather because he believes that Delaware is just going to attack these minions anyway. These minions that have the triangles around them mean they have taunt, meaning that they have to be attacked into before any other minion. So Rockju is just assuming here that he might as well deal damage if the opponent is just going to kill off their own minions in the process of trying to eliminate his. Sorry if I'm speaking kind of quickly. Here comes the Norganon we've seen before.
You are unable to comprehend.
Cards costing one more is significant because that's going to mean that Rockju is not able to Dragon Golem on the next turn, which is the big swing turn that he's looking for. However, it's not really that backbreaking. As you can see, Delaware's here making trades. That's when it's called when you attack into other minions, because they're trying to allow their 3/8 to live as long as possible. This card, Norganon, gets more powerful the longer it stays alive. So Rockju's really going to have to find a really great play here or just eliminate it so that he does not have to worry about it further. You can see puts all 9 damage to kill it. That's how important of a threat it is that that goes away. However, it is turn 6 and Delaware hasn't really accelerated towards accumulating spells, getting up their spell damage so that they can do a bunch of damage in one turn. And as we can see, they have to play something with a lot of minions here to get a lot of tempo to prepare for this Dragon Golem that's coming down next turn. This is going to fill the entire board with 5/6s, which means that you can have 7 minions at a time. That's 35 damage that's going to be coming next turn. Or not next turn, but the turn after, if Delaware cannot deal with this board. They do have multiple ways to deal with this board, though. They could have they have the robot. This robot deals damage based off how many different types of spells you've cast. It's a very good card, but it's still, like I said, not really getting towards the point. Like, Delaware doesn't want to play that card. They only want to play that card out of necessity. They're thinking, Delaware's thinking really hard about their turn here. Interesting. Very slow turn here from Delaware. I wonder if they just ran out of time on making a decision. Didn't really spend a lot of their mana. But here comes this really big Dragon Golem. Like I said, this is 42 damage. There's pretty much only 1 or 2 ways that Delaware can deal with this. They have to have like multiple robots, or they have to have generated a spell earlier in the game that specifically deals with these huge boards, but that's pretty rare. It's going to be very difficult. If this is a Reverberations, yep. This only deals with this really only deals with 2 minions. Here's the robot we were talking about earlier, but this is just way too much damage to deal with. As we can see, this is still just 36 damage. Here's more damage, additional damage. This Druid deck really can dominate. So we can see Northeastern takes game 1. This is a best of 5 tournament. This best of 5 tournament means that you have to win with 3 of your decks. So Northeastern goes up 1-0. Northeastern can no longer play the Dragon Druid deck we just saw. They have to play one of their 2 other decks. So that's going to be either Enrage Warrior or Rainbow Mage. However, Delaware still has to win with all 3 of their decks. getting the first game is very important in this matchup because it kind of decides where things are going to go from here. Both players have to decide what deck they're going to bring next based off this data. This Druid deck is pretty hard to beat, so if Delaware decides to play Druid for the next matchup, then it will not be surprising if Northeastern falls into a defeat in that game. However, Northeastern is favored in the other two matchups to win those statistically, based off accumulated data from thousands of games that others have played with the same decks. However, like I said previously, anything can happen. There's much randomness in this game. Really, a lot of playing around the randomness, trying to be as accurate as you can with the hands that you are given. All right, and here we are heading into our second game of this best of 5 series. Northeastern is playing this Enraged Warrior deck. It's a pretty decent opening hand, actually. And he's playing against the Highlander Druid we saw in the matchup Critical versus Cheryl Wu. Both of those decks are pretty good, at all depending on their late game win streaks or late game comeback potential. Here in Rage Warrior, Northeastern's goal is to in this matchup is to win early. Normally in Hearthstone, there's a deck that is the aggressor, and there's the deck that is kind of the defender. It doesn't always work out like that. But the longer the game goes, the more the aggressor is at a disadvantage. And Northeastern is the aggressor in this matchup, looking to win quickly and defeat this Highlander Druid. Foul Leg is a funny card. As you can see, it doesn't have any attack, meaning it can't attack at all, which seems kind of useless, except once this dies or is given attack by a special spell, then it becomes a very minion that stays around a long time. Very sticky. Ooh, Sanguine Depths is a great draw here. This, in fact, gives that egg the attack to attack. This egg just turns into a 3/3 foul, pun intended. Foul, foul. Once dead. It's a chicken, so it's a foul, foul. This game is full of excellent puns. Here it is. Here's the foul, foul. Getting the weapon in this hand is really good. This weapon pretty much is the reason why this deck wins so often. It just gives your minions more health, makes it harder for them to die. Thoribalor, also a great card here. Like we said, this essentially infinitely stays alive. It's impossible to permanently kill, except for certain situations, but it's gonna, for the rest of the game, it's gonna be something that Delaware is gonna have to deal with. Delaware does get off a Splish Splash Whelp and an Embrace of Nature here. Both of these cards are kind of accelerating towards the late game, making your later cards better. So it's really kind of putting Northeastern on this clock to do some damage fast. As we can see here, boom, boom, a lot of damage coming out. Delaware's already down to 15 health this game, and it's only turn 4. Delaware really has to deal with this 5. Maybe with this, there's a dragon that deals 5 damage to an enemy minion. That's pretty good. But really going to have to kill these minions soon, or else they're going to be doing even more damage next turn as a result of this weapon, this imbued axe. Nourish is very slow here, but it is accelerating towards the late game. Oh, Frost Lotus Blossom stalls out a little longer. Northeastern here has even more damage with the result of Crazed Wretch, but they gotta make sure that they can have enough burst damage to win this game. An amazing Reno next turn is really detrimental here. Really painful. Oh, an overdraw! That means that this card cannot be played. It has not died, it's just out of the game as a result of Delaware having too many cards in their hand. That's a pretty good card too, so that's unfortunate. But as we can see, the important card of this matchup, they did in fact draw Reno. Reno is a very good card. Northeastern's left with almost nothing to do this turn. Really punishing that the opponent had that card. Not really much you can do about it. Because if you don't think they have it and you put too many minions on board, this is what happens. But if you go too slow, then you might just wait too long and wait for them to have it. It's really kind of a difficult card to play around, but it's a very dominant card. This is the entire payoff for making your decks all unique and have no duplicates at all. Oh, interesting. We're seeing Delaware completely ditch their hand, hoping to find better cards as a result of this Sir Finley card. Northeastern has to somehow manage 10 damage out of nowhere, which is really difficult here. Yeah. As we can see, all that happens is Northeastern just passed because this hand doesn't really do anything, especially because multiple of these cards just summon minions, but as a result of this effect, Northeastern can only play one minion for that turn after it's played. It's a very, very strong card. Some may say too strong, but that's not for me to decide. Delaware here has to come with a big play. They have max mana already as a result of being in the Druid class. And having slower earlier turns means they can ramp up to these big turns. This might be a Rustrot Viper coming out of the opponent to destroy Northeastern's weapon. Oh, Theatar. This allows them to steal one of Northeastern's cards. However, Northeastern's hand is really bad, so this isn't really a back-breaking play. Yeah, they choose to steal the Trial by Fire, which was definitely the best option there, but not really a ton Northeastern can do. This is drawing more cards, which is good. Northeastern needs to find something to come back with. Still not finding this big swing that they're looking for. This will draw even more cards. Northeastern's just digging through their deck, trying to find a way to come back. Trial by Fire, like we said, it's a pretty good card, but it's very defensive, and Northeastern needs to be aggressive right now in order to win this first game. Second game, my bad, sorry. Reminder, Northeastern is up 1-0 in this match, and it is best of 5. Or, sorry, best of 5. First to win 3. Yeah. Unless Northeastern can get a really big draw here, it's not looking good for this one match. The Druid just has too much control for Delaware in this one game to come back.
Can you feel the gift?
Even more healing, that puts it even farther out of range. Now Northeastern has to do 16 damage. This minion's probably going to die as a result of all the different things that Delaware can do, leaving Northeastern kind of blank. However, like we said, these Druid decks are very dominant right now, so this one specific game was favored in Delaware's court, about 55% to 45. Seems to just be playing out that way. Sometimes there's not a lot you can do to play around it. As you can see, as a result of this Acolyte of Pain, the hand is getting bigger, but still 20 damage is a lot to come by before the Druid slowly picks it away. Oh, that is a great card to draw, though. This Crazed Wretch, as you can see, has even more attack. Charge meaning it can attack immediately if it's damaged. Normally, minions in Hearthstone have to wait a turn before they can attack, unless they have Rush like these Valkyr champions, or Charge like the Crazed Wretch. Rush meaning you can attack minions, Charge meaning you can attack wherever you want. most of the time meaning the opponent directly.
Burn away the blight.
Yeah, Northeastern's kind of taken back this board, but the Druid specifically runs a lot of tools to deal with boards like these. So it's still going to be... Northeastern's going to have to play very well to come on top for this game.
Stay alert, my children. Danger.
Ooh, that's painful. A randomly generated spell off a result of a minion. So this means it was not in the opponent's deck, but they just got it from rolling the dice. Allows Delaware to clear the entire board without spending any of their own resources on it. And at the same time develop this big 6/8 minion that cannot be attacked through.
First point sig is pretty good.
Opponent just drawing more cards here. Make sure they have more resources for whatever Northeastern can do on the next turn.
Let the pain speak to me.
Yeah, Rockju's just looking to draw more cards. Animus Extractor is a pretty good card in this deck. Allows you to buff the minions you have in hand. Try to get a really big play off. This is one of the more harder decks to pilot in the game currently. There's a lot of decisions being made, a lot of different ways you can play.
Mortals, so full of sin.
Rockju chooses to play the Anima Extractor out early, meaning that any minion that gets damaged will buff a minion in his hand. He wants the buffs to hit the Crazed Wretch and not the Battlesworn Faceless, because the stats of this do not matter. ENR is a great card for Delaware to have at this position. As you can see, they're just making a massive board of minions that Rockju has to get through.
Ball on fire.
Ooh. This is a lot of damage in Northeastern's hand. Unfortunately, they still have to kill this 6/8 taunt and 5/5 taunt, because you have to kill the taunts before you can attack directly the opponent hero. But this is a lot of damage in hand. Let's see. Northeastern is currently facing 21 damage on board, maybe -5 because this can't directly attack. However, this stays alive an additional turn. It will heal the opponent to full. A really tough situation for Northeastern to be in right now. Not a lot of great lines. Yeah, Northeastern just choosing to pass, essentially resetting this game, hoping they can just have a massive swing later, but we'll see if they can live that long, as Delaware is providing a lot of pressure right now with their minions. Additionally, healing to full, meaning Northeastern's going to have to deal 45 damage from hand. Yep. Here's another payoff for the uniqueness of Delaware's deck. Just means they get a discounted dragon every single turn. It makes things tough, but it's not really something that determines the game. Yep. Yep. So we see Delaware's back to 45 full health. A lot of minions here, a lot of taunts. This full combo can do up to probably 60 damage, but that's not counting there being no taunts in the way, and these really need to be dealt with some way or the other. Additionally, this is the last turn Northeastern's going to have, pretty much, unless they can kill this board, because they only have 7 health remaining. All right, big minions coming out from Decimator Olgra. Gets buffed based off how many damaged everything there is. We see it went from 3/7 to 11/15. Ooh. Rockju really wanted that to do damage to face and kill off more minions there. It's a little frustrating, but it's just the nature of randomly attacking the enemies. That 11 damage really would have been helpful, but like we said, Northeastern still has to kill off all 3 of these minions in order to survive to the next turn.
Just rally, just rally. Yep, I'm coming back, I'm coming back.
So Northeastern chooses to concede this game, so that sets our match score to 1-1. That Dragon Druid is a hard deck to defeat. Highlander Druid is kind of a variation of that. They're very similar decks, to be honest. But yes, so we're at 1-1 now. Both Northeastern and Delaware have won with their Druid deck. So that means that both opponents have to win with their Rainbow Mage. Northeastern still has to win with that Enraged Warrior we just saw them playing. And Delaware has to win with their Highlander Paladin. We're having a short water break here.
Oh my god, I just fucking rolled her.
Yes. So as I mentioned before, Northeastern is still favored here, as they have a predominantly positive win rate into both Highlander Paladin and Rainbow Mage, so they are at the advantage at the current moment in the match. But both Northeastern and Delaware have to win 2 more games to solidify this match and make it onto the finals. This is the second semifinal match between Northeastern and Delaware. All right, into our game 3 of this Conquest Best of 5 match.
All imperfections must be swept away.
We see Rakju. Northeastern is playing the Mage, the Rainbow Mage class, and they're playing against Unlucky for University of Delaware, who is playing the Highlander Paladin deck. Like I mentioned earlier, Highlander means that all of your cards are different, meaning that your deck is less consistent, but you can play really powerful cards, such as Reno. We saw Reno was the deciding factor in that last game. Pretty much ended the game on the spot as a result of Delaware having that card available to play on turn 8. Cosmic Keyboard is a great early game card to have as Rainbow Mage. Like I said, it allows you to play spells to get more resources while also putting minions on board to kill the opponent's minions and put pressure on them. A weak turn 3 from Delaware, but probably just a result of the cards they have in their hand. Northeastern choosing to kill off the Hi-Ho Silverwing. This whole recent DLC expansion was named after cowboy-themed cards. If you're wondering where that name comes from. Instead of playing the Miracle Salesman. Both options were good here. Flame Geyser allows the minion to be dead to prevent it from being given more attack and health from a spell, while also summoning a 1/1 that can hopefully kill off this 1/1. Since Northeastern is playing a combo deck, a deck that determines playing a bunch of cards in one turn to do all of its damage later, the Mage likes the game to last as long as possible because this allows it the most amount of time to set up its combo. So even though this Highlander Paladin is typically more of a defensive deck, it must switch to being more offensive in order to defeat the Mage before it gets too powerful. Here we see the ETC pulling a random card, or not a random card, I should say a card that was curated to be for this matchup. It's It's kind of a slow play, but you can almost guarantee that your opponent gets a card that they definitely want to play. As we can see, here's the power of the Cosmic Keyboard. This spell is very slow. All it does is draw 2 cards for 4 whole mana, except as a result of the keyboard, it also creates a 4/4, making it actually a very good turn 4 play. This keyboard can really make the difference. Sunwell. Interesting card to run. Not a bad choice, but definitely unique. Now this means that the Highlander Paladins will have a handful of just random spells. They could be anything. So this really can be hard for Northeastern to play around if they get something that's really good. But it is 3 spells. There we go. Here we see another trap card, or also known as a secret. We're going to have to figure out, or Northeastern's going to have to figure out what they want to play around, what this could be. There's ones that are as punishing as completely removing your minion, but there's also ones that are as little as summoning some bees to attack your minion when you play something, which is not really that important in this matchup. But there's a lot of different things it could be. Void Scripture, kind of pulling it a little early, and we see getting a little punished for it. Of course, this doesn't mean it was a bad play, it just means that it didn't work out as a result of random effects. Elemental Inspiration is a good card to get from it, but because Northeastern did not have the mana to play it this turn, they don't get it to cast for free. Glacial Advance is also a decent amount of damage. Oh, we're going to see the trap card. Ooh, it was Freezing Trap. This is one of the better trap cards to get. Since Northeastern's hand was full, the minion completely dies rather than getting returned to hand. So it's essentially a 2-mana kill off the 4/4. Yep, this match is still looking like it could go either way. The Paladin is putting on a decent amount of pressure, but nothing that the Mage can't currently deal with right now. The Mage is accumulating these resources so that they can do a big combo turn. Yeah. Additionally, ooh, Dirty Rat. Ooh! Dirty Rat is a very powerful card to have for the Paladin. Very strong against Rainbow Mage because it can pull your big card named Sif. Sif is how you do damage in this spell, with all your spells in this deck. Unfortunately, we can see Delaware used their Dirty Rat too early, and Sif was not in Northeastern's hand. However, as a result of the card they got from earlier, they do destroy all of Northeastern's board. This is 7 damage, which is pretty significant. So Northeastern is going to have to kill off some of these minions in order to make sure that they have enough life to finish off this game. Ban the Hammer is a good card to get here. Kind of just deals with some of these lesser minions. It's also additionally a Fell spell. The fact that this is a Fell spell means that much of Northeastern's cards will become more powerful. As you can see, this robot will deal more damage based off how many spells you've cast. Additionally, Elemental Inspiration will summon additional minions. Here's another big payoff from being a Highlander, Spirit of the Badlands. This permanent Mirage Mirage allows Delaware to get additional value from all of their cards, and they can play this Plague Spreader. Plague Spreader additionally is very tough for Mage to play around because it can transfer their really good cards into a copy of itself, which is not good. You do not want to have this card because it just does nothing. This is really painful for Northeastern to have to try to play against this. As we can see, Delaware has specifically tailored their deck in anticipation that it would have to play against... Oh! This is brutal! That play against Mage. Additionally, Delaware has this Reno card. We've been talking about this one that has pretty much defined all of the matches we've had yet today. It just completely ends the game on the spot, seemingly. Completely eliminates Northeastern's minions. Northeastern gets a Plague Spreader instead of one of their minions. Thankfully, Northeastern doesn't have any of their really good minions in hand, so Plague Spreader's damage is limited for now. But we're not going to see Northeastern try to play this because then it goes back and forth, and then it's just a dangerous situation. At this point in time, Northeastern has to stay alive. They're only at 13 health, and their opponent is at 40. They're going to have to draw into some of their really good cards and put on some pressure while preventing the damage coming in from this Paladin. Paladin is spending some mana to make their cards better. That's what this Forge card means. Additionally, that means they can play Ignis. Ignis is an extremely strong weapon. It's an extremely strong card that creates a weapon, and this weapon can be game-ending, deal tons of damage. It can create massive minions. It's just a very difficult situation for Northeastern right now in this game. They're going to have to find a way to heal out of the way of some instant damage. They're also going to have to draw. Thankfully, they have Wisdom of Norganon that allows them to draw for free right now because of how many different types of spells they've played. Additionally, they have this Stargazing, Living Horizon. Pretty good card if you think about it. It normally costs 10, but it costs less for each other card in your hand. So if you are a more defensive deck, then you can make it cost pretty low because you're not playing a lot of spells, or you're not playing a lot of cards from your turn if you're being more defensive. He gets a free star power as a result of his card. This kills all his minions. He's aware of this. Drawing more cards. Cold Case is a big draw in this situation. That's heal. This means that Delaware's weapon won't be able to instantly kill Northeastern on the next turn, but I don't know how long it's going to be able to stall. Good thing here, Northeastern's putting out a lot of minions, grabbing even more draw. Interesting choice there, grabbing draw instead of defensive capabilities. Both could be work here. I kind of do like this draw because you got to win the game somehow. Being defensive only kind of stalls the game from continuing on, rather than like actually flipping the game in your favor. But as we can see, this is a pretty big board. Delaware's going to have to deal with this in some way, because this is a decent amount of damage coming out. If they just equip a 10 mana weapon, it doesn't really do a lot. Although if they did get the option, it's once again a random possibility of summoning big minions when they attack. Northeastern's going to have to kill them because Northeastern can't live through it. Interesting visual bugs going on here. Delaware played a Mirage from their... Why is that over there? What is going on? Oh, no. Their minion in the... That's funny looking. Anyway, they have killed off the entire board while also making it so that Northeastern can't play their either first spell or minion. Here's the big card for Northeastern. This is the way Northeastern's going to win this game. Ooh, unfortunate. But it's not terrible situation. That's funny. Anyway, Northeastern has killed off that minion. But they still have to live. They still have to find something to do. Infinitize, when you have 5 mana, means it's not endless. Oh, but they do get a Wisdom. Northeastern's just churning through their deck right now, trying to find anything that will help them not die on the spot. Unfortunately, they double get Elementals, which are good for next turn, but right now they're looking for something more. Oh, and there it is. Delaware did in fact get pretty lucky with both the Wind Fury option and the deal 6 damage option, meaning they instantly do 16 damage no matter what the state of the board is. Unfortunate for Northeastern in this situation, but this would have been a hard one to come back from based off the way that the board was going. So now we can see Northeastern has gone down 1-2. Their opponent now only needs to win on Rainbow Mage, and Northeastern has to win on Rainbow Mage and Enrage Warrior. However, this is completely possible for Northeastern to do, as Enrage Warrior is pretty heavily favored in Northeastern's favor, and then the other one is just going to be a 50-50, so we'll have to see. Let me update the scoreboard to show that Delaware is now up 2-1. All right. Rockju is choosing to play the Warrior first. Rockju has to win with both Warrior and Mage, so he could really choose it in any option he wants. He's going to have to play against Delaware's Mage. Because Delaware's Mage has to win. This is the last deck that Delaware has to win with. So we're just going to have to see. Thoribelor in the opening hand is pretty good for Northeastern. This is just generally one of your better cards in this deck. You can only run one copy of it because it's legendary rarity. So it's good that you go. Oh, it's a pretty good draw on turn 1 as a card you can play on turn 1. You draw a card every turn, and so very efficient so far. Mage also has not a bad opener. Arcane Worm is a good to play on 1, and Infinitize the Maxitude, that little funky spell you saw that's going on currently, is a good spell to play on 2 because of its finale effect. As you can see, finale is a bonus if this spends all of the remaining mana. So if you play 2 on turn 2 and you have 2 mana, then you get that special bonus of it returning to your hand at the end of the turn. Sanguine Depth's another good card to play here. As you can see, Northeastern is choosing to go face because they have to be the aggressor here. They have to deal damage and kill the opponent. They believe this Arcane Worm is just going to kill their minion anyway. So if the opponent wishes for both things to die, then you just want to make sure that you're not doing things that the opponent would want you to do. So that's why we can see Rockju just ignoring this worm for now and just trying to get this number down to 0. Oh, I've just noticed that that the opposing Delaware player's hand is full. Since you are definitely going to draw a card on your turn, we're going to see what they're going to burn. What card will they not be able to play this game? No way! That's awesome for Northeastern. That is the most important card in Delaware's deck. That is completely backbreaking that they have lost this card. Extremely unlucky. There was a 1 in 21 chance of that happening. That's very unfortunate for Delaware here, and Northeastern just has to play out this game and make sure that nothing goes wrong. Because essentially, Delaware has lost all chances they have of winning this game with their combo, and they're going to need to win it in another way. We can see the emotes coming out from the opponent, realizing how unlucky they really have been. One can argue that they didn't play around it because they knowingly got their hand to full cards and risked it, which is unfortunate, but it is unfortunate that the 1 in 21% chance, a 4% chance of burning their most important card, and it happened. So yeah, like we said, Northeastern just has to play this game normally, you know, don't allow the mage to accumulate enough pressure to hurt you. And this should be a decently easy win for this one game. And so we're looking at a possible 2-2 matchup, final game 5 coming after this. But, however, first Northeastern does need to win this game. So, yeah. Both players now have a Thoribelor, which is a very good card, except Northeastern has way more fire spells to revive it than Delaware does, meaning that they will get more value over of this card as it goes on. As you can see, this is a fire spell, this is a fire spell, this is a fire spell.
Mortals, so full of sin.
Burn away the
Making a big board here to try to get buffs onto their Crazed Wretch. This is a card that does direct damage to the opponent when buffed by the Anima Extractor. Oh! Oh! Very unlucky for Northeastern. All of the buffs hit the Battlesworn Faceless. The stats of this minion do not matter because it gets transformed into a different one. I guess that's a little karma for the good luck they got earlier in the game and burning the most important card in their deck. Not backbreaking for Northeastern, unlike the burning of Sif, but still pretty unfortunate that that recent play is deemed pretty useless as a result of these buffs. Pretty unfortunate. He wanted them to go onto this Crazed Wretch, and all 6 of them went on to the Battleborn Faceless. 1/2 times 1/2 to the 6th power is chances of that occurring. Oh, a 2% chance, if you will. But Oh, solid alibi. Great card discovered from this mage. Doesn't really do much in this situation, but, you know, it does still additionally help. Because this mage discovered solid alibi off of Void Scripture, they're going to have another one in the game, so Northeastern has to keep that in mind. It's going to be in this Delaware's hand. Northeastern choosing to trade off minions here because doing 1 damage to the opponent rather than killing a minion, not a huge trade-off. Making a big board again. Delaware needs probably the robot to come back in this situation. Robot deals a big board wipe, but you only have 2 of them, and you need to draw them, and you need to set up for them by playing multiple spells. So it's not a guaranteed situation. Artificer. Starting to accumulate some armor, drawing some cards, trying to probably pull for that robot. Very desperately looking for it. Because if not, this is a bunch of damage, and they might just have to play their solid alibi early. They want to save that as long as possible. It's kind of like a last-ditch situation if you need to stall 1 more turn.
We're almost back, almost back. Back. Monkey in. Pressuring monkey. Press monkey, press monkey, press monkey. Ignoring, ignoring.
Northeastern has a couple of plays left in their hand. This Crazed Wretch can be buffed with this to give 3 more damage, have 2 more damage, give this to 2 more damage, and then copied. So it's a lot of damage from hand for Northeastern. Yep, Delaware is deciding to play their last copy of Solid Alibi. They could discover another one magically. A little bit of healing there is pretty good for Delaware. But they're still not really doing a lot. They do have a lot of cards in hand, though, but they like we said, they do not have Sif. Sif is the way that Rainbow Mage deals damage, and they have burned it, meaning it is inaccessible to them for the rest of the game. Their hand was too full in one of the earlier turns, and they had the unlucky nature of drawing into it. Once again, this is a big board. Delaware has a big full hand full of resources, but they don't really have a lot to finish out this game, so Northeastern might just be able to just whittle them down over the next next 5 or 10 turns or so. Elemental Inspiration gonna be a big board. Unfortunately, only got 1 rush. Oh, never mind, 2 rush. I stand corrected. Pretty good board then. Especially because this 4/5 can heal. And these other minions are pretty sticky. But Northeastern might have enough damage for lethal here. We're gonna see. We're gonna have to count. This is 2 damage, additional 2 damage to damage it, an additional 3 damage, then copied, plus 6. It's close. I think it might be a little bit off, but I'm not sure. I might just be bad at math. But 28 is a lot. But if Northeastern chooses not to go for lethal here, they're going to have to clear this board because this is a lot of damage hitting their face.
What next?
You can see Northeastern's really taking their time here because it's important. Northeastern, it's a lot of different plays that could have been done there. That's why this deck is very difficult to play, because there's a lot of thinking involved rather than just playing the card, whatever card you can at that time. Northeastern chose to play Olgra to kill off most of the board. This does heal a little bit, but this does get rid of a lot of big threats. Also, at the same time, they develop a 9/9 that has to be dealt with. We can see these minions and a Fire Blast from the opponent can deal with it, but that is just a lot of resources they have to put in that they're not healing or generating more cards for them later. Northeastern still maintains this combo of Sanguine Depths, Crazed Wretch, Battlesworn Faceless, Imbued Axe. That's a lot of damage, but once again, as we've seen many times in this game playing again, Delaware has pulled out their Norganon, which can kind of put a halt in things, kind of like a pause button on the game, where you need to kill this if you cannot kill them on that turn, or else it just gets way too out of hand. Oh, Delaware's choosing to go for randomness. This is a trap card like we've seen before. These secrets, Northeastern's gonna have to try to play around this. There's some really good ones. It could be like Objection, but there's also really bad options like Azurite Chunk. So we're really gonna, Azurite Bane, I'm sorry. So we're really gonna have to see if Northeastern chooses to see if it's gonna be really big or not. I feel like in this situation they might go a little safe because they've kind of gotten pretty good on the game so far as a result of burning Sif, but things could go really awry based off how what this secret turns out to be. You see Rockjuice playing Foul Leg first to play around Objection. Oh! Great play by Matthew to play around Objection. Objection would have been backbreaking if you maybe played Sunfury Champion or waited till later and hit the Crazed Wretch or something bad. That's a great secret for Delaware to hit. Oh! Barakji might be making the choice to injure the Norganon in order to copy it and get a copy of it himself. This is an interesting play. That is going to be what Matthew chooses. We're going to see which option he picks. He's going to pick the deal 10 damage and kill it. As a result of this, if Matthew's Norganon lives till next turn, he's going to be able to make all of Delaware's cards cost 4 more next turn, which just means you can pretty much do nothing. But this is not going to live, most likely, because it's going to trade. But this does kind of get us to the next section of the game. Unfortunately, Northeastern is like out of threats right now. They have only 1 card in their hand. This doesn't really do much with their opponent being so high life. Delaware still has 8 cards in their hand. So it's looking pretty rough. It could go either way. Like we said, Delaware doesn't have their big finisher card, but if they have enough resources, they might just be able to just chunk Rockdew down. So Rockdew's going to need a bunch of big draws in these next few draws in order to get back into this game. Maybe a Trial by Fire or another card that draws. There's a card that normally costs 4 that's a little cheaper. Or an Acolyte of Pain. He needs draw. Having only 1 card in your hand is a really scary situation. Ooh, another Elemental Inspiration, another massive 3 poisonous is pretty bad though, and no lifesteal. But this is a lot. This is a lot to deal with. Northeastern needs a really good draw right now. Acolyte of Pain's okay. Can't damage it though because the Sanguine Depths is online. That's really tough.
Let the pain speak to me.
Let's see, does Raku live through this turn? The opponent needs 2 damage. Randomly generated 2 damage, or just ran in the deck in order to win. Really unfortunate that the game came down to this, but that's just what happens when you just draw poorly sometimes. Opponent had great answers. Really only 2 turns of this game that could probably been played differently, but it might not have affected the outcome of the game. Sometimes it just is like that. The game just does not go your way. Oh, and yeah, here we see a randomly generated spell does kill Matthew, but 2 damage was not a lot to get by. All right, so that is the end of our second semifinal game. University of Delaware's Unlucky beats Northeastern's Rockdew with a score of 3-1. This means that Unlucky from Delaware will go on to play Northeastern's Critical in the finals that are coming up very shortly. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll be right back with the finals.
normally.
If I played the coin, then I would have 3 mana.
You don't use the coin like that in this deck. Anyways, you take the Fell spell because the others are unplayable. So yeah, you probably just dump it here so that you can cast one of the draw 3s. And then you'll play Consumption. Or sorry, yeah, one of the draw 2s. Yeah. Yeah, play through Felon Flame, then play the draw 2, and then play KI Consumption just to take out the 2.
Alright, everybody. It is time for the ECAC Hearthstone Finals. In this corner, we have Northeastern's Critical. In the other corner, we have University of Delaware's Unlucky. Both players just beat out an opposing player from the other school in the semifinals. The players that went down were Delaware's Sherlwu and Northeastern's Rockdew. They are currently engaged in a third place match right now. But instead, we are going to watch the finals. Not the game, but the finals of the ECAC Collegiate Hearthstone Tournament. The decks that our opponents have brought is Northeastern has brought Dragon Druid, Highlander Shaman, Enrage Warrior, and Mech Rogue, while Delaware has brought Highlander Shaman, Rainbow Mage, Highlander Druid, and Highlander Paladin. The two players are currently engaged in a ban game as we speak. So because this is a best of 5 tournament, both players bring 4 decks and then choose one from the opponent they want to ban and not have to play against. They will then have to win with the remaining each of the remaining 3 decks. This is going to be a close matchup. Delaware has brought a lot of Highlander decks, meaning their decks are not consistent, but at the same time contain some powerful cards, more specifically Reno. We've seen earlier how Reno has straight up decided games on the spot when the opponent has drawn it. So it is an extremely powerful card coming down on turn 8. Northeastern, however, has a spread of very different decks, each of which having a different type of win condition. Some making very big boards like Dragon Druid, some comboing the opponent down like Rainbow Mage, some just generally good decks like Enrage Warrior, which is more of an aggressive deck, and Highlander Shaman, which is more of an all-around defensive deck. As I said, both players are currently deciding which deck from the opponent they do not want to play against. As soon as we get that information, we will start spectating their match, and we will begin with game 1.
Our diamonds just clue to
It has been rumored that I will give a cookie to whoever wins this match. Unfortunate that Critical is gluten intolerant. His cookie may be a little different.
Both these guys forgot their ET.
coming storm.
Bask in my radiance.
solves any problem.
Time runs out on me.
Reached your peak.
True mages master all magic.
Sorry about that. Technical audio difficulties. So yes, currently the score is 1-0 in University of Delaware's favor. They took the first game on Rainbow Mage against Northeastern's Highlander Shaman. So we're going to go into game 2. We also have a special treat of a surprise guest commentator. This is the third or to be determined fourth place finisher in this ECAC tournament. This is Matthew, also known as Rocked You from Northeastern. Yes.
I smell gold in them there waters. Keep on panning.
Matthew, how are you doing today?
Wait 1 second, sorry.
All right.
Okay, I'm back now.
Hello, Matthew. Rocked
Hello.
You. So we're
What do we
watching.
got here?
So we're
Oh,
watching.
Paladin versus Shaman.
Yeah.
Oh, he's still running Trusty Companion. Ooh. Interesting decisions.
this is a Highlander match, so now both cards have access to Reno Lone Ranger. This is this card that has pretty much decided every single game that it's been in so far.
But notably, you can see Ethan's got his Framestern hand, which will shut off the opponent's Reno.
Yes, until they draw all 3 framed cards. But this is a very good card in this matchup. Just prevents Reno, so that means Ethan or Critical Northeastern can really try to burn through this as fast as they can. Trying to get that lethal as quickly as possible.
I think it's going to come down this turn. It looks like there's 2 pretty good plays here. He's going to elect to keep his Peasant alive. I kind of like it. Oh, Peasant's an undead?
Keep on panning.
Or wait, what?
I thought that
Do you
card.
know that interaction?
I did not. I thought the card turned yellow.
So it looks like that's a fun interaction that Ethan knows that neither of us know, that
That if you
Trusty Companion,
Gold Panner
Yeah.
is apparently coded as an undead despite not being one.
or it's just any neutral minion will draw Amalgam. That's probably not an interaction they want in the game.
Well, it makes sense because Amalgam is coded that it has all minion types that aren't some that aren't even mentioned. So
Hmm.
it makes sense that Trusty Companion would draw it because that means Gold Panner must be some type of minion type that doesn't have a explicit visual keyword.
What kind of minion type do you think Gold Panner is?
I don't know, maybe an ogre.
Ooh, this is the Ogre expansion.
Must move quickly.
Did the opponent play Order before I showed up here?
They did not.
Okay.
For strength.
Wow. Keeper Strength. That is a card to come down.
Big minion. Northeastern's
Looking
looking
for a
to
freeze here? Probably.
Northeastern's just looking for a good card to play here, I think. I don't think they really had much chance of being able to kill this with anything. Turn the Tides is very good for later, but Dehydrate also provides some healing and gets rid of that Divine Shield.
Notably, Turn the Tides, though, he cannot play Golgonath next turn if he plays Turn the Tides. This turn.
Oh, well, I was assuming he would hold on to the Turn to Tides for later, not play it this turn.
Mm.
But yeah, Golgonath is looking a likely play for next turn.
Especially because its Deal 20 ability will will kill that 6/8 most likely if we can get the Divine Shield off of it.
Yeah, which might happen from this 4/4, but that's not a guarantee.
What to do?
I heard there might be some deck switching between rounds. Did anyone actually change anything in this matchup? I know we did in my matchup, but
I don't believe so. Yeah, Northeastern's choosing to guarantee that Divine Shield is off, so that way they have many different options for killing it next turn, whether with Horn of the Windlord, Gorgonath, even Altered Chord might be an option for next turn. Northeastern notably does not want to devolve this minion because it will turn into a 9-cost minion, which seemingly is no better than a 6/8 with Taunt.
who's on the coin right now? Did we have the coin or did Lucky
Herding this bastard.
sorry have the coin?
This Cattle Rustler is very important for Unlucky. This draws one of the best cards in his deck, the Spirit of the Badlands. This permanent Mirage gives almost infinite value for the rest of the game. It's not over yet though. There's still many opportunities for Northeastern's Critical to take this match back.
They also notably today did fix the bugs with that card with Forge and Tradable. I don't know if you knew about those, Eli.
I did not. I haven't played much of Highlander Paladin.
That's very fair. It's not not the most competitive deck outside of tournaments. So the fun interaction that there used to be with it is it would, if you forged a card with it, it would duplicate. So you'd have 2 of these infinite value generators in your hand for the rest of the game.
Northeastern choosing to go base here. They really are trying to finish this game quickly. Agreeing to take 6 damage, maybe even more. Paladin has access to a lot of buffed spells. So, because they really wanted to push that damage face. That might be Northeastern's only line left.
Looking at this specific list, I believe they only have about 2 buff spells left because they chose to go with a more disruptive Reno Paladin than a aggressive one, and we'll see how that works out for them as this match goes on. The disruption, of course, helping more against slow decks than fast decks.
Oof, this is a
That's
lot of
not good.
damage. Northeastern left with 3 health. They need to gain health or gain armor, or destroy this weapon. There's too many things. That is health. That's one way Northeastern can come back.
I don't know if that's quite good enough, though.
Golganeth also heals. That's an important fact for this matchup because he needs to heal desperately. There's these option to many different healing options here. Altered Cord also a possibility.
I think he's gonna have to summon some taunts here, maybe. I don't know, we'll see what he does. He's electing. Okay, I like this line. This puts him at full. It is weak to if our opponent has specifically Feast and Famine in their hand. But Critical taking the odds that there's not a Feast and Famine. Never mind.
You win this one.
That is the second game. We're still 0-2, but Northeastern still has plenty of opportunity to come back in this situation. All their decks are very strong.
Which deck was banned? Was it the Druid?
Yeah, Dragon Druid was banned. And from Northeastern chose to ban the Highlander Shaman from the opponent.
So he's looking to sweep the opponent's almost Highlander Druid. Notably, there is one duplicate in there, which some people would argue is wrong. Some people like it. It's something weird that people are trying with Highlander Druid, where they just say, hey, I think I'm going to draw this duplicate card before my Reno to try to get it online as fast as possible.
Unfortunate first two games for Northeastern. They're just, opponent is getting very good draws, very good tempo. Northeastern kind of falling flat with their luck. But thankfully for them, they still have plenty of opportunity to come back. Two heavy favorables into Highlander Druid and one semi-unfavorable. But this is definitely doable for a reverse sweep. Northeastern choosing to go with Mekroke first. Big blowouts early. We saw this in their semi-final match that they won on turn 5 against a Druid. There was nothing that could be done. Or maybe it was against a Mage, but both decks run very limited removal.
Yeah, this Druid deck's early removal is pretty much limited to exclusively Glacial Shard, which isn't even removal, it's just stalling a turn.
Oh, unlucky draw from Northeastern drawing Thunderbringer. Maybe he can later bluff with a Scourge Illusionist that will prevent the Druid from killing it, or maybe get some sort of way to.
And he's drawn his. He just played his duplicate. That is the one card they run. The Spitelash Whelp is the duplicate. So now their Reno is online. Their Raystraza is online.
Delaware getting extremely lucky in these first 3 games here. Northeastern pondering about whether to play the Sparkbot to turn it into a 5/5.
That's a really unfortunate draw.
Insane opener from Delaware. Very lucky organization of their draws. Northeastern has an option to just drop a little back and try to snowball off of it, or maybe bluff the 4/4 is also a possibility.
Electing to drop the 3/4, probably not wanting to play the Scourge Illusionist until there's either he's forced to or he draws a Gear Shift.
Yes. Just wondering about the bluff possibilities because Unlucky knows that this deck draws a very strong, this card draws a very strong card when dead. Of course, right now it does not because of the unluckiness that Northeastern is facing time and time again. Very unfortunate. However, the match is not over.
You think he'll stealth this or attack? Yeah, it looks like he's gonna stealth it at the end.
That seems very smart to me. I think Northeastern definitely still has a chance of winning this. A good draw into a Wind Fury, into more stealth, or something. There's definitely a bunch of possibilities.
Yeah, notably, what's it called? I don't know the spell's name. The 2-mana spell that adds 3 Sparkbots to your hand.
From the Scrap Heap.
It is threatening lethal on the spot, I believe. Or is it one-off? It's one-off lethal on the spot.
This Theotar is interesting because it might give hints to the opponent that Thunderbringer is hand, meaning that they won't be scared of a Scourge Illusionist. But there's not really anything here except maybe a preparation or a coin that they're looking to take. Like, this doesn't really do a lot for Unlucky. But at this point, Delaware is so far ahead, it's just up to whether or not Northeastern can get a really lucky draw.
Guitar, of course, a historically very powerful card, currently 6 mana, used to be 4 mana. You look at 3 cards in your opponent's hand, you take one, and then you give them one of 3 cards in your hand. I don't know why they printed that card at 4 mana. That's an interesting
choice.
give. I guess he's saying that this game's not going to be decided by late game. So just giving up the Ignis because there's no late game. Does this opponent's deck run any elementals or beasts? I don't believe so.
Northeastern getting an unlucky draw there that doesn't do anything for their game plan. One big clear pretty much ends this game on the spot from Delaware. Very unfortunate for Northeastern. A lot of unlucky situations and lucky situations for the opponent. Just kind of putting them in a bad spot right now. No misplay has been made at all.
Nice to meet you.
That's not doing much, but a top deck Serrated Bone Spike could turn this game around now. Because that would allow the Neptulon to actually hit the board.
It's a possibility. We also still have to think about Reno. Delaware has been lucky enough to play Reno every single turn 8 they've been in this game, in both the semifinals and the finals games.
If you top deck Gear Shift here, are you playing it with, are you like coin prep playing it, or are you just playing it keeping the Nept in hand, do you think, Eli?
I'm not sure. That coin and prep doesn't do anything. So getting rid of it's not a problem, but you could draw it again. So.
Okay, well pretty much the only top deck that keeps Northeastern in this game is going to be that Serrated Bone Spike. Can he draw it? Oh, there might be one other.
Once again, down to luck again. What's he gonna draw? What's the damage gonna hit?
I wonder if he's gonna go for draw here. No, he's gonna go for damage. Okay, pretty good hits.
He must kill the opponent's minions because he cannot even survive, take damage from even one of them, it feels.
This Druid deck only has one card that is capable of dealing damage to his face, and that's Astalor, which means he is out of lethal range by doing this.
Oh, choosing
Never
to go
mind.
face instead. Down to 1 card draw.
Very aggressive line. I like it.
Unfortunately, Reno kind of just ends the game on the spot. Unfortunate that the game has come down to hoping the opponent doesn't draw it. And there it is. Every single game, Delaware has gotten lucky enough to draw the Reno. Every single game. As we can see, unlucky is anything but his name. Very unfortunate. Felt like Northeastern was battling chance the entire matchup instead of their opponent. But that is the finishing, that is the last game of our finals, and we can see Northeastern has fallen. But it was a great gameplay by both players, and this will be the end of our stream. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Yep, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, University of Delaware, for being great opponents. That's about it. Yeah, and thank you for letting us move this away from Saturday night into Tuesday night. That was very awesome.
Yep. Very well played by Northeastern. Unfortunate result. but everyone played well. Very great showing in the finals. All right. Have a great night. Thank you for watching.